Welcome to Break the Board, Friday, September 27th. This is John, your host. A little bit of switch in the schedule. We're now going Mondays and Fridays, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So just wanted to give that update to you. Glad to be back with you. I know we weren't here. Wednesday is now, again, we're just going to be Mondays and Fridays. So you'll get us coming right out of the weekend. And then you'll get us again on Fridays. As always, you can follow us on X. Please click that subscribe. Also, you can go to breaktheboardsports.com to catch up on all information. Everything will get posted up today for college football and the NFL for the weekend. Well, the Dallas Cowboys, they survived. Was not pretty. They may have lost Micah Parsons for a short period of time. We'll see how that goes. Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jones, but I'll tell you this much. Dallas is right where I thought they'd be. Not a contender, not going to be a player this year. Dak Prescott still mediocre at best, but Dallas gets the win there. They, however, do not get the cover, laying 5.5 as they win 20-15. Fun note on the side: I had a little prop bet parlay, 100 to win 700, and the only thing that I didn't get to hit it was Devin Singletary alternate rushing total over 25 yards. He finished with 24. So. Only the Giants only getting 1 yard per rush on the ground. Just brutal beat. But anyway, so we're gonna hit the Major League Baseball. Obviously, Tigers and Royals still in the mix there, trying to clinch. Twins all but done. Dodgers come back and beat the Padres last night. They wrap up the NL East. Tigers have not named a starting pitcher today, but they host the White Sox, so they should win if any of us go out there. They're laying $1.65 over under 7.5. Philly's still vying for that 1 seed in the National League. They'll send Ranger Suarez on the hill to face Trevor Williams of the Nationals. $1.90 is the price of the Phillies on the road. Your over under is 8. And then the Royals, they have a big one. So this Royals-Braves series is really interesting. Braves have really gotten screwed here with this whole doubleheader Monday against the Mets, and it kind of puts the D-backs in flux too. So we'll see how it goes. But the Mets, they really luck out because they're going to miss having to face Fried, going to miss having to face Chris Sale. So the Braves, they're in a tough spot here to try to make this happen. But Royals with Singer, Braves will throw the southpaw Fried. Royals plus 160 on the comeback. Braves minus 190. Not going to have a play in this game. Both teams need the game. Line's way too high. Royals really struggle to score. I mean, they struggle just to get by the Nationals. I really think the Royals, whoever they match up against, if they're able to sneak into this thing, they are one and done for sure. The Mets laying $1.22 on the road at Milwaukee. I do like the Mets today. The Mets will be probably my only baseball play outside of Padres at D-backs, Darvish at Merrill Kelly. Want to dive into that a little bit more, but the Padres plus 105 definitely intrigued me there. So again, Royals, Tigers, and Twins all but done. If the Tigers and Royals, their magic number is 1, that'll knock the Twinsies out. And then again, you got this whole Braves, Diamondbacks, Mets debacle coming down in the National League. Switching over to college football, 2 games tonight. We got Virginia Tech at Miami of Florida. Cam Ward leading the Heisman race right now. He's run about 3-1 to 5-1 odds, depending on where you shop. Miami, I just feel like this is setting up for them to really just lay an egg somewhere. I don't think it's going to be tonight. Virginia Tech having all those starters back. They had 20 starters back. Have not looked good. Lost tough games against Vanderbilt and Rutgers, and then they beat 2 Sun Belt teams, so nothing there to write home about for Virginia Tech for sure as they travel to Miami tonight. This one got as high as 20. I was thinking to myself, okay, get over 21 or gets to 21, I would take it, but it came back down to where it started. That's 17.5. The total has gone over in 6 of Miami's last 7 games overall and 5 of their last 6 at home. And the total has gone over in Virginia Tech 7 of their last 8 games. Your over-under is setting at 54. Again, Miami laying 17.5. Right now, 84% of bets and 83% of the handle on Miami. So it's all Miami all the time. We're going to take a pass on this. But there will be a couple notes on this game up on the website. Again, if you go breaktheboardsports.com, it'll list out each game. You'll have up to the minute what the handle and the ticket count is for both the over-under and the spread. And then you'll have your quick hitter notes, quick little 6, 7, 8 lines to help you in your own handicapping. Again, we're going to give you a handful of plays to play for the weekend. But Break the Board Sports is more about helping you become a better handicapper. So please go and check it out. You can get all the plays this weekend for $10.99. Northern Illinois is at North Carolina State. North Carolina State will be laying 7.5. Skip down here, Kentucky at Ole Miss. I will actually be fortunate enough to be at this game. Ole Miss was 17.5. It's down to 15.5. 68% of bets, 66% of tickets on Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss rolls here. However, Kentucky being tough at home against Georgia is giving me reason to pause. But I think Ole Miss, now that they get into real true SEC play, I think they pour it on. I think Ole Miss is one of the top 5 teams in the country. Right now, they set 6th. Oklahoma State, K-State, and I can't tell you how much more huge of a game this could be for both of these teams. The loser probably out of the college football playoff. They would have to impressively run the table and then impressively win the Big 12 championship game. And here's why. You got Utah, Oklahoma State, and K-State, right? Those were the top 3. Those were the favorites, yada, yada. We know. Right? But Iowa State now, with that win against Iowa, they've posted an undefeated record. You're not going to see more than 2 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff. And I think even 2 is a stretch. But one thing's for sure, a 2-loss Big 12 team is not going to get in over a 1-loss or 2-loss SEC team. I'm not even sure a 2-loss Big 12 team gets in over a 3-loss SEC team, because these SEC teams, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, obviously the best team in the country, LSU starting to come on a little bit, though I don't think they've played anybody of any relevance. And Brian Kelly will find some way to poop the bed. But listen, I think that the Big 12, it's going to be really hard to get in. So both of these teams already have a loss. K-State had the debacle at BYU last week. Last week we had BYU plus 7.5. So that was a nice one. But we also had Oklahoma State plus the 3 because we got earlier in the week. And to be honest with you, we had no business covering that game. Utah dominated that game from start to finish without Cam Rising. So now Oklahoma State's got to circle back. Again, I believe this game is both teams' season. If Oklahoma State was to drop this game, they're probably done for, which hurts for some future bets that we have. But also, if K-State loses, I think they're all but done also. They would, either one of these teams to go to 2 losses would have to run the table and be extremely impressive. And Oklahoma State, as high as I was on them, they just have not been good. I mean, even the Arkansas game, they really, really struggled at. So not really, don't really have a whole lot of warm fuzzies with Oklahoma State. Now, they are 4-1 straight up their last 5 games when playing K-State, but K-State 9-1 straight up its last 10 games at home. Again, we always know how tough of a place K-State is to play. Skipping on down, this one's going to be real interesting. Not going to have a play on it, but just both of these teams have been really scrappy so far at this point in the season. Tulane and South Florida. South Florida will be traveling to Tulane. Tulane laying 5. Right now, 57% of the tickets on Tulane, 35% of the handle on Tulane there. Navy at UAB. Navy, big win last week against Memphis. We had Navy plus the 10. Now it shifts around. Navy going to UAB and Trent Dilfer's squad. Will they have a flat spot, letdown spot here? Navy laying 3.5 at UAB. Both 84% of the ticket count and 84% of the handle on Navy rather. So it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds as the week goes along. Skipping down again, Michigan hosting Minnesota. Now listen, Michigan, we had them last week plus 5 against USC. They get the outright win. That was a great game. USC really played better than I thought. Michigan still can't throw the ball, but I think the backup quarterback they got in there obviously is much, much better than what they had. And we know Michigan's going to pound the ball. We know they're going to chew up clock. We know their defense is phenomenal. So Michigan's always going to be there. Truth be told, my biggest bet of the week was actually a two-team money line parlay in college football. Michigan and Notre Dame is what I put together. I got like minus 125 on that. So that was our big bet. We're giving that out as a triple unit. Love some other college plays. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. If you can, hit that subscribe. We're here every Monday and Friday, 9:30 Eastern time. Michigan laying 10, though, on the spread. 86% of the ticket count, 83% of the handle going to Michigan. Only 14% of the ticket count and 17% of the handle going Minnesota's way. Your over-under incredibly low here, 35.5. Pretty unreal this day and age. Now, the total has gone over 7 of the last 8 times that Minnesota has played Michigan. So head-to-head, 7 of the last 8 you've went over. You're setting at 35.5. 20-16 gets you there. Seems pretty reasonable. Again, I'm not an over-under guy. That's more of an AJ thing. We'll see what he puts out this week. Minnesota 3-5-1 against the number of their last 9 games. Now, Michigan, a little deceiving here, but 12-1 straight up their last 13 at home. Again, that's really hard to go off of when you got J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, Harbaugh and company. But I do like Michigan to get the win here. I'm not going to lay 10 with them. They can't score enough to be that high of a double-digit favored. If you were going to play the spread, I would say, okay, maybe lean Minnesota, but I'm just more interested, again, minus $1.25, money line parlay in Michigan and Notre Dame together. Baylor and BYU, Baylor laying 3, getting 24% of the tickets. Again, we talk about this reverse money ticket count. Baylor, 24% of the tickets, but 51% of the money. BYU, 76% of the ticket count, 49% of the money. This is clearly a pros versus Joes, squares versus sharps. The public is on BYU. Again, they see what they saw last week with their eyes. Oh, they beat K-State, whooped up on them. That was a very deceiving game. It got away really quick. And then Baylor, the heartbreaker, I have no idea what they were doing on that Hail Mary. Again, everybody on TV and on podcasts and everywhere spoke to it ad nauseum. So I'm not, going to try to come up with some new great theories. They just blew it there. But I like Baylor and Waco. Now, again, I wouldn't lay 3. I would lay the $1.50, but I do think Baylor gets across the finish line here. Not a game I'll be playing, but I do lean that side to the Baylor Bears. I think this is a tough-ass BYU, such a huge win. And again, BYU is a tough place to play. You go to BYU, you go to Utah, those places, you got the altitude. There's just so many things going on and the crowd. And as we saw with K-State last week, those games can get away from you extremely, extremely quick. Again, check us out, breaktheboardsports.com. $10.99, all the football, all the notes for this week. Texas State heads to Sam Houston State. Texas State, again, they're still trying to stay alive for that non-Power 5 spot, though I think that loss to Arizona State is going to come back to haunt them. They're laying 9 at Sam Houston State. Money and ticket count split. Let's see here. Skipping on down. Colorado at UCF. Now, this one's bounced around a lot. Right now, it's set at 14. When I bet it was 15. I took Colorado. Maybe a trendy dog play. 79% of the ticket count on Colorado, 67% of the handle, compared to 21% of the ticket count for Central Florida and 33% of the handle. For me, it's just way too many points. I do think Central Florida is the much better team. Colorado is much better at home, but I think Colorado will be able to put up points. Anytime you have Sanders and Horn and Hunter, Colorado's always in the game. 15's a lot. If you can find some 14.5s, they're still out there. I would grab those. Again, I think that's a good way to go for this week. TCU at Kansas. This one's been bouncing around anywhere from 1.5 to 2. This game's going to be played at Arrowhead Stadium, one of the best stadiums in the world. If you've never been there, got to check it out. 76% of the ticket count on Kansas, 82% of the bets, 24% on TCU. along with 18% of the bets going to the way of TCU. Now, TCU 10-1 straight up their last 11 when playing Kansas. However, Kansas 6-3 straight up its last 9 games at home. Texas Christians really dominated this matchup. However, I'm going to go with the Jayhawks here. Big spot for them. Sonny Dykes getting thrown out last week, head coach of TCU. A lot of things going on there. I feel like TCU's on the downward spot. I feel like Kansas, they've underachieved as well. But I'm going to grab the Rock Chalk Jayhawks here. I'm going to lay the money line with them, minus $1.20, and roll with the Jayhawks on the money line. Oklahoma at Auburn. Oklahoma, listen, they were laying 1.5 all week. Money line was 120. I kept saying, man, should I pull the trigger? Should I pull the trigger? Oklahoma's much better. Saw the backup quarterback come in. He played well. He's going to be the starter. Auburn really stinks, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I just can't do it. And now it's done flipped to Auburn -1 and Oklahoma a 1-point dog. And I said, no, don't want any parts of it. The line can't flip, and yet 90% of the ticket count and 88% of the bets still be on Oklahoma. I'll take a pass. To me, you either take Auburn at home or you don't bet the game. The line is begging you to take Oklahoma. When it's begging you to take a side, I will either take the other side or take a pass just based off principle. Again, if you side with the books, you're going to be okay. They build beautiful, beautiful casinos, and they always are dressed very nicely as to where the public's all got to go to work on Monday. So I will stay on the side of the people that win the majority of the time and stay away from the public. That's got me off of this Oklahoma game because I feel like Oklahoma, even on the road, should be a 4-point favorite at Auburn. I mean, Auburn stinks. So this game has stinky stink written all over it. We're going to stay away. But again, there will be some notes up on the site for this if you want to check them out there at breaktheboardsports.com. The big news of the week, Sloka, the quarterback of UNLV, walking out. UNLV was up to a 3.5-point favorite, dropped all the way down to a dog. This line's been bouncing all around. It's now selling in at -2. 51% of the ticket count UNLV's way, 49% of the ticket count going to Fresno State's way. This is a big, big game. I love UNLV -130 on the money line. I feel like, the backup quarterback was much more liked than Sloka anyway. I think UNLV's players are going to rally around this. They're pissed. They're 3-0. They're like, who's this Holy Cross kid coming in talking about $100K? UNLV's got a legit shot, folks. If they are able to pull this out against Fresno State, which I think they will, next week they have Syracuse coming into town. Let's just say Syracuse wins. All UNLV has to do is run the table the rest of the Mountain West and win that game against Boise, because I feel like if they win this weekend, that non-Power 5 spot to get in the college football playoff is coming down to one of two teams, and it's coming down to one game, and it's that Boise State UNLV running Rebels game. UNLV here -$1.30. I like it way more than I did with Sloka. When it was 3.5, I was like, I don't want to lay 3.5. That money line's too high. Now -$1.30. I'm all about UNLV on the money line. We're going to go with the running Rebels to rally around the backup quarterback, to rally around as a team and get there and get the win over Fresno State. Just wanted to skip down. Had some good notes on this game. Fresno State, they're 5-1 their last 5 games. But here's the other thing. Fresno State, 5-0 straight up its last 5 games at UNLV. Time for UNLV to get a win. UNLV has been a covering machine. 12-4 against the spread their last 16 games overall. Give us the running Rebels -$1.30. So plays in pocket. We're going to go with Kansas money line -120, UNLV money line -130 for a double unit, and a triple unit -$1.25 money line parlay, Michigan Notre Dame. There will be more plays if you go to breaktheboardsports.com. Notes on every game. Going down to Arkansas and Texas A&M. This should be a fun one. Arkansas, a 5.5-point dog, 58% of the ticket count going to the way of Texas A&M, 42% of the ticket count going to the way of Arkansas. However, Arkansas claiming more of the money right now, 60% going their way compared to 40% of the handle going to Texas A&M's way. Texas A&M 11-1 straight up their last 12 against Arkansas. However, I can't lay 5.5. Texas A&M can't score. Arkansas, they're kind of sneaky good, right? Like not like great, but they're a good, solid team. I watched the way they should have had that win at Oklahoma State. Arkansas isn't scared of being on the road. This one's a stay away, but we will have some notes again up there at breaktheboardsports.com. Click on a package. You can get everything $10.99 this week for the whole weekend through Monday. That includes baseball. If we do not have a winning record, you will get the next month totally free. So check it out, breaktheboardsports.com. One of my favorite games of the week. The number just keeps ticking up. But the split's about 50-50 pretty much. 50% of ticket count, 50%. I mean, it's like 1 or 2% each way in this Louisville-Notre Dame game. Yet Notre Dame's went from a 4.5-point favorite all the way up to 7 now. A lot of sharps on Notre Dame. I don't want to deal with the points. I just want the money line with Michigan rather. Truth be told, I'm not a big fan of college teasers. I don't think they work very often, but I do think you can find a spot every once in a while. I found a good spot with a 6-pointer with Notre Dame. I got it when it was 6.5, but you can still get it now. You can get Notre Dame -1 with Alabama plus 8.5 at home. I think that's great value. Louisville 14-4 straight up its last 18 games. Notre Dame looking to avenge that loss against them last year. Notre Dame 6-1 straight up their last 7. But more importantly, this game isn't at Louisville. It's in South Bend, and Notre Dame's been very, very tough unless you're Northern Illinois. 11-2 straight up last 13 at home for the Fighting Irish. I think the Irish are righting the ship here. When I look ahead at their schedule, the Florida State game doesn't scare me. To me, there's 3 games, right? And this is one of them. They beat Louisville. Then I think it's a tricky. I'm a huge Georgia Tech guy this year. If they can get by Louisville, get by Georgia Tech, Notre Dame's college football playoff all will hinge on one game. It's the last game of the season at USC. If USC is sitting on 2 losses, if they could beat Notre Dame, I think they get in with 2 losses. So that's just an incredibly huge game for both teams there. But I think Notre Dame, I think they get the win here. I'm not a guy that's going to lay 7, but I'll be honest with you. I would either lay the 7 or by the half, rather. I'd lay 6.5, or I wouldn't. I'd put Notre Dame in every kind of money line or whatever. I just like the Irish to get the win here. I think they're the much better team. I think Satterfields did a really nice job at Louisville, but Louisville's playing way over their heads and really haven't played any competition, to be quite honest. Notre Dame's defense is stout. They're going to run the ball. They're going to hit Louisville in the mouth. And I think after this one, it'll be 12 of the last 14 Notre Dame will have won straight up at home. Again, we got that triple unit play, them in Michigan, money line parlay, and then the 6-point teaser, Notre Dame and Alabama. Speaking of USC, they're going to host Wisconsin. They're laying 15.5 to the Badgers. Huge number. USC getting 68% of the ticket count, though, and 70% of the money. A lot of people down on Wisconsin. I get it. But Wisconsin, be very careful. 4-1 against the spread their last 5 on the road with Luke Fickell. The total has gone over 19 of the last 24 games for USC at home. Wisconsin, we'll see if they can put up a little resilience. Now, look, USC, here's the thing about them. This is why I'm a little questioned. I think they're better than Wisconsin, but the issue becomes USC. I mean, when you go to the Big House and you play Michigan and how Michigan plays football, they call them Big Blue for a reason. Lots of big blue bruises for USC. Very tough physical game, very emotional game coming all the way down to the last play of the game, a game that, quite honestly, I think USC should have won. We were able to get the cover with Michigan. But look, now you're playing Wisconsin. You're going back home. I think this is a little bit of a soft spot. Be very careful with USC here. Again, I'm not a fan of laying double-digit points. Not something I do very often. But I got to tell you, just be careful in this one. I know a lot of people are going to say, USC, bounce back, blah, blah, blah. College has been pretty much the way we thought. Favorites have pretty much won these marquee games, as to where the NFL has been totally turned upside down on its head. Just be very, very careful as you go into this. Again, I think that's a little bit of a trap, laying that much for USC. Illinois at Penn State, and I just do not understand this one. I know a lot of sharp people that I follow and all have been on Penn State, but they were like, I don't want to lay 17 and a half. It's now went to 18 this morning. However, 86% of the ticket count, 88% of the handle on Illinois, only 14% of ticket count, and 12% of the handle on Penn State. The line just does not make sense to me. I don't see why it should be that high, but the fact everybody's on Illinois kind of scares me off of it. Penn State 18-3 straight up its last 21 games, 10-2 straight up its last 12 at home. Again, the thing that scares me about the Nittany Lions is when you have games like Bowling Green, and now you got the Fighting Bielemas of Illinois. Illinois, again, smash mouth football, going to keep the ball on the ground, very defensive. Now, listen, I think Drew Aller's the much better quarterback for Penn State here, and I think they're going to be able to matriculate the ball down the field a little bit better than Illinois. But Illinois, that win at Nebraska was very impressive. I liked them. Wish I'd given it out. I did bet it myself when it went to 7.5. But look, I think 18 is way too many here. If you're going to bet the game, I would side with the Illini. I'm not going to play it just because of the money and ticket count scared me off of it. But I do think 18 is just way too many. We'd like to thank our non-sponsor, but sponsor Starbucks that, two of these get me through every day. Georgia, Bama, it was up to 2, sometimes 2.5. This morning, it's dropped to Georgia -1. 57% of tickets on Georgia, 43% of the ticket count on Alabama, 58% of the handle on Georgia compared to 42% of the handle on Alabama. You can get Georgia on the money line -$1.15, comeback -105. Georgia, 24-1 straight up its last 25 games. Yeah, you heard me. 24-1 straight up its last 25 games. The only blemish, the SEC championship game. Who beat them? Alabama. More importantly, Alabama 5-0 its last 5 games at home. Alabama 14-1 straight up its last 15 games. Alabama, that win, the SEC championship game, really wrecked Georgia's college football playoff chances last year. Now, truth be told, Alabama has really, really worked Georgia over, right? They've won 8 of the last 9. They've really, really had their teeth in Georgia. Kirby Smart, obviously, we know the relationship with him and Nick Saban. And when I look at this, Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe they're just a special, special combination. They really, really are. Georgia, their last win, 33-18 over Alabama. Before that was in 2022. Before that, they haven't beaten Alabama since 2007. That game was at Alabama, 26-23. Alabama's taken 8 of the last 10. And more importantly, like we just discussed, 8 of the last 9. And when you look at these and you go down through them, Alabama has won by 4 points or more in all those except one. In some of them, those 2020, 2021 games were by double digits. Here's my thing. I know Georgia isn't as good as in years past, right? But I also think this game could be a little bit too much for Alabama towards the end. Like, I think Alabama had that great hold. We know how Nick Saban's record was against his assistants. I mean, everybody's talked about it ad nauseum. This is a game I feel is more important for Georgia than it is for Alabama. And here's why. In a couple of weeks, Georgia's got to go on the road to Texas, right? So if Georgia wins one of these, right, let's say Georgia ends up with 2 losses, right? Let's say, Tennessee or they almost lost to Kentucky. Somebody bites them. Georgia's still going to be good, but they got to get one of these. Truth be told, I think they have a better chance in Tuscaloosa this weekend than they do at Texas, especially if Quinn Ewers comes back. Listen, I know Jalen Milroe can bust the game wide open with his legs, his throwing. I like Kalen DeBoer. Alabama isn't going in anywhere. They're going to be in the playoff every single year that DeBoer is there. They made a great hire. I just think, this is a little bit of a sleeping dog. if you said before the season, right before a game was played, you would say, okay, Alabama will hang in there, but Georgia's probably going to win. I think Georgia wins this game. Now, listen, I think it's going to be a classic. As soon as it's over, I got to find the nearest sports bar there at Ole Miss so I can watch this game. I'm not going to have a play on it other than that 6-point teaser because I do like getting Alabama plus 8.5. We talked about that. Notre Dame -1 with Alabama plus 8.5. I do think it's a game that stays within 8. I think it's a one-score game. But listen, I'm going to say something that I don't think I've heard anybody else say this week, right? Because it's either been Alabama or it's a field goal game. Do not be surprised Georgia stretches this thing and wins by 2 touchdowns. I just think everybody's sleeping on them a little bit, right? Texas has been impressive, so people have already knocked Georgia down to number 2, put Texas up there. Which, listen, Texas deserves to be up there. I'm not saying they don't. I just think Kirby's going to have the dogs ready, and I think you're going to see Georgia's best. When we look back at their season, I'm not going to be surprised if we say that Georgia's best game of the year was at Alabama. They looked the best, both defensively, special teams, offensively. ETN hasn't produced the way you would think at the running back position for Georgia. I think he comes on. I think he has an electric game. I think it's slow moving in the beginning, right? I don't think there's a lot of points here in the first half. Could be wrong, but I don't see a lot of points in the first half. But I think as this game goes on, Georgia shows they're the better team. Milroe's got to win a big game, right? He's got to win a big game. He won that SEC championship game last year. But listen, and maybe it's my fault, maybe I'm wrong, but I give a lot of credit to Nick Saban in those big games. This is a huge one. Can't wait to watch it. So we'll see how that one works out. Ohio State laying 24 at Michigan State. 79% of the ticket count for Ohio State, 78% of the money. Josh Smith doing a really, really nice job there at Michigan State. He inherited an absolute dumpster fire. Now, listen, it hasn't showed up in the win-loss column, but they've been very competitive. I look for him to really build that program back, have all the confidence in the world in Josh Smith there at Michigan State. Look forward to the job he's doing. Florida State catching 6.5 at SMU. 64% of the ticket count on SMU, 72% of the handle, 36% of the ticket count to Florida State, 28% of the handle. Florida State, rather, I feel like dodged a bullet last week. We had a money line against Cal, had to sweat that one out. And I said, Lord, thank you. The fact they won, I'm never betting them again this season. Got my one win, I'm out. So win there, I'm going to stay away. Three other big games to end the night that I'm really curious how they shake out. And they will have college football playoff implications, especially if one of them was to get upset. But the one that I think is the best game, Washington State catching 7. Now, this one's kind of bounced around a lot. There's a couple 6.5 starting to pop back up now, which is where it was. 7.5. But the Cougs visit Boise State on the blue turf. This one split ticket count, split handle. That's a late game. Arizona at Utah. This one had Utah -11. It's all the way down to -8. 83% of tickets, 72% of the handle on the Utes. Oregon at UCLA. Oregon laying 25.5. 67% of the ticket count, 62% of the handle by way of the Ducks, as they are going to be quacking there at UCLA on Saturday night. One quick note about that: Oregon 10-1 straight up its last 11 games against UCLA. So we'll see how that shakes out for them. Switching over to the NFL again, if you could hit that subscribe. We're here every Monday and Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. We go anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half breaking down games, breaking down trends. You can go to breaktheboardsports.com if you sign up for one of our packages. Everything's loaded up there on Fridays for game breakdowns, quick hitters, everything you need to get you set so you can become a better handicapper at breaktheboardsports.com. Moving on along here to the NFL. Again, Dallas last night, we had another dog cover. The Giants, the dogs just absolutely been on a tear. this season. First game we're going to go to here on Sunday, Saints at Falcons. This one will be for first place. Saints fell last week to the Eagles. We had the Eagles plus the 3 last week. Excuse me. The Atlanta Falcons will be laying 2.5. This one keeps creeping up. Now, I was listening to Thomas Gable this morning on VSiN. He says he doesn't see it going to 3. This line was 1, and it keeps creeping up. He says he thinks 2.5 is the hold because obviously at 3 there would be a whole lot of Saints buyback. Now, again, reverse ticket count, reverse handle here is a big one. Saints 64% of the handle. 64% of the ticket count, 36% of the ticket count to the Falcons, 54% of the handle to the Falcons, and 46% of the handle to the Saints. So Saints have the ticket count, Falcons have the handle. Right now, Falcons minus 135 on the money line. But listen, 79% of the money line bets are going to the sorry, apologize there, guys. Mute this. On the money line, all the bets going the Saints' way. Now, listen, Derek Carr, you can't trust that guy as much as I like him. He's really struggled. But New Orleans, 5-1 straight up its last 6 games on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. Carr 1-0 on the road this season, ATS so far. But he hasn't been above 500 on the road since 2016. Kirk Cousins at home, 11-21 ATS. Nothing to write home about there. Again, talking about Derek Carr and his struggles on the road since 2017, 23-35-2 against the spread. Now, good news for the Saints. They're the underdog. They play much better in that role. Carr 54-46-1 against the spread as a dog compared to 22-38-2 as a favorite. Again, Carr much better in the dog role. But look, I think what you saw from Atlanta coming back and winning that Philly game, they should have won the Chief game. Obviously, no call down there. But I like the Falcons in this spot. I would give them the lean. The Saints defense got stifled a little bit. Now, look, this game, it's a coin flip game. I wouldn't go putting a mortgage on it by no means, but I will lean to the side of the Atlanta Falcons for this one. Probably going to end up being a no play for me. But again, if I had to make a play, I would lean to the side of the Atlanta Falcons for this matchup. Next one, a game I really like, LA Rams at the Chicago Bears. Bears rather. Finally, it's touched 3. Bears are a 3-point favored. Right now, 26% of the ticket count to the Bears compared to 74% to the Rams. 57% of the ticket count to the Rams compared to 43% of the ticket count to the Bears. Rams 8-3 against the spread their last 11 games. They've been really solid there. I know there's no Puka Nacua. I know there's no Cooper Kupp. I still like the Rams by the hook here. Lay $1.20, $1.25. I think Rams plus 3.5 is the side. I think if you get the Rams in the 7-point teaser, taking them up to plus 10, I like that. I actually put them with the Jets in a 7-pointer minus 140. Jets pick with Rams plus 10. I think that's great value there on that. Now, Chicago is 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games at home and 5-0 straight up. But a little bit of that's misleading. Just look at this year, that home opener against the Titans. They had absolutely no business winning that game. I think Sean McVay is going to do enough to get the Rams by. Rams had that amazing comeback against San Francisco. You make the argument. I watched every play of the game. I thought the Rams should have beat the Lions. Should have definitely got us the cover there. That was a kind of a tough beat to swallow. But I like the Rams here by the hook, plus 3.5. Tease them with the Jets there. I think that's a good way to go for them. Caleb Williams, just got no faith in him. He's had more off-target throws than any QB in the league this year. 28 of those, as a matter of fact. Matt Stafford, huge week last week. They're 11 now. Stafford and McVay together. This is a pretty cool stat. Stafford and McVay, after a divisional game, have been lights out. 11-6-2 against the spread. I think that continues. Again, I'll go by way of the Rams here, buying the hook, taking them plus 3.5 here on Sunday and putting them in that teaser with the New York Jets. Speaking of the Jets, next game, them and the Denver Broncos, pretty much split here, ticket count and handle. Jets laying 7.5. Your over-under is 39.5. Jets, 53% of tickets compared to 47% of tickets for the Denver Broncos. 55% of the handle to the Broncos compared to 45% to the New York Jets. Now, Aaron Rodgers on extended rest here. They had the Thursday night game, the very dominating win against the New England Patriots. When Rodgers is on extended rest, he's 61% ATS, 31, 20, and 2 in his career, makes him the 5th most profitable quarterback in football during that span. Now, he's going to face Bo Nix, rookie quarterback. Rodgers, 15-6 straight up when playing against a rookie quarterback. Again, another reason I like that teaser, minus 140. You see it on your screen there. Jets pick with the Rams plus 10. Now, total's gone over Denver's 7 of the last 8 games when Denver is at the Jets. So, again, you could see some points here. The total's low, 39.5. I know you haven't seen a whole lot of points this year. Been very low scoring across the league, a lot of that being just horrible quarterback play. But at 39.5, when you start looking at, okay, how can we get there? 24-17 will get there to you. I think the Jets easily get over 20. It's can the Broncos somehow get 14 to 17 points for you, depending on how many the Jets score. Now, that Jets defense, though it's good, not as elite as it was last year. Bo Nix, I have liked what I've seen from him. Sean Payton's obviously going to call a great game and put him in position. But I love the Jets ultimately to come out on top here. Again, you had the whole Hackett-Payton thing last year. Hackett, he couldn't hack it without Rodgers. Now Rodgers comes back. I think he's going to help his boy here. I think the Jets, I don't think anybody cruises to anything right now in the NFL. But at some point in time, these favorites, maybe they're not covering, but they'll at least win games where we've saw favorites just outright losing games. Again, another reason I love that teaser, Jets, Rams. Again, I think if you wanted to parlay Jets and Lions, I think the Lions in Seattle streak, that's going. If you wanted to go Jets, Lions, 49ers on a money parlay, I know those sound very squarish, but when you look at spots and you look at who they're playing, again, the craziness can't continue. And I'm a dog player. I'm a contrarian. I fade the public a lot. I haven't the first 3 weeks, and it's bit me. I should have made all the money I wanted to make this year in the first 3 weeks, but I turned into a little bit of a square myself on some bets. But I just think this week you're going to see a little bit of a tick back to reality. Doesn't mean you'll see favorites covering a bunch of spreads, but I don't think you're going to see these upsets. Like, I don't think you're going to see Denver upset the Jets, something that you've seen. I don't think you're going to see New England go to San Francisco and win. I don't call the Lions an upset. They're a 3.5-point favorite. I would actually buy the 0.5 point and lay the 3 with the Lions, but I don't see Seattle going 4-0 and going into Detroit and win a game on Monday Night Football. That place is going to be absolutely bonkers. Philly at Tampa Bay. Philly down a whole bunch of weapons. This line's dropped from 2.5 to 1.5. 68% of the ticket count on the Eagles. 64% of the handle on the Eagles. 32% of the tickets on the Bucks. 36% of the handle on the Bucks. You're over/under setting at 43. Again, the Bucks won this playoff game last year, 32-9. Tampa Bay 5-1 straight up its last 6 games against the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, we talk about him away from home. He hasn't even been good at home. Jalen Hurts is not the same quarterback he was that season they went to the Super Bowl. Now, Eagles 2-5 ATS on a road trip and 0-5 ATS since the start of 2022. They haven't covered the spread 10.5 points per game. When you look Hurts in his career as a favorite away from the link, So a road favorite when Jalen Hurts is in that spot, he's 7-14-1 in the last 20 years. That makes him the 5th least profitable quarterback away from home. So look, I just don't. You can't lay it here with the Eagles, especially they're down A.J. Brown, they're down Devontae Smith. Now they could win the game. Don't get me wrong, but I think putting Tampa Bay in a teaser spot, 6-pointer gets you through the key number of 7, puts you at 7.5. 7-point teaser gets you through the key number of 8, gets you to 8.5. I'm a big guy. I'd rather do the 7-pointers. It's just me. I don't just want the touchdown. I want the extra point with it. I'd rather lay another 10 cents to 15 cents juice, just a personal preference. Again, you win the bet, you're in good shape there. But when I look at that, I just think Philly's in a really bad spot. If you're going to play the game straight, I think you got to give the edge to Tampa here. I think you got to give the edge to Tampa. I think with Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, look, Philly's defense stood up last week, but can we get that performance 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. I don't know if we can get that 2 weeks in a row. But I do think Philly here is just struggling. They're a really hard team to back. This is going to be a stay away for me. But again, tread lightly at your own risk, I would say. Panthers host the Bengals. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton getting the win last week. He's now going to host his old team, the Bengals. Bengals laying 4.5. 70% of the ticket count, 79% of bets on the Bengals. The Bengals, they've been the circus survivor boogeyman. They wiped everybody week 1 and everybody week 3. Will they get everybody week 4? Who knows? But look, your over-under setting at 47, 30% of the ticket count, 21% of the handle on the Panthers. Now, the total has gone over 7 of the last 9 games that the Bengals have played in, but they've gone under 8 of the Panthers' last 9 games at home. But that under stat, remember, a little deceiving. You had Bryce Young, who's really, really struggled. And to be quite honest, that's being putting it lightly. I just put it lightly because the kid's been stand-up. He's been an awesome leader through everything. Now, Bengals, according to Action Network, got this stat this morning, put it in my notes. The Bengals would be the 8th team in the last decade to be a road favorite in their 4th game of the year after starting 0-3, right? Those teams are 8-0 straight up and 5-1-2 ATS. And that trend would also include the Titans. So I'm going to say this. Bengals, any money line parlay you do, you got to put them in it. I don't know if I'd lay 4.5 on the road, but any kind of teaser money parlay, the Bengals aren't going to let you down. They're not going 0-4. They're going to get their win. And just to throw it in, because that trend fits the Titans too, go ahead and take the Titans on Monday night, because I don't even know who Miami's going to start, right? And remember, Will Levis, as much as I don't like him, as much as I think he's a bust, remember what he did at Miami last year? He had that get-right game, blew them up. So the Bengals, again, I know it's hard to follow them, but one of the biggest things to do is to stay on a team even when they burn you, right? Here's another thing. Joe Burrow, I put this note down this morning, has been phenomenal on the road. 22-11 against the spread when it's been a road or neutral site game. When he's favored by a field goal or more on the road, Burrow 7-3 ATS in his career. Again, I think the Bengals roll. I know last week they couldn't stop a cold, but look, Jalen Daniels played out of his mind for Washington. I don't even think Daniels is going to be able to do that again. I think Washington probably falls to the Cardinals this week. I didn't bet it yet, but I'm leaning to the way of the Cardinals. But I think, again, 4 teams, Bengals, Jets, 49ers, Lions. I think any combination of those 4, you put them in a money line parlay for a 2-team or a 3-teamer, I think you're going to be setting in really good shape. Another good thing to do is you could do the roller, right? So the roller I always talk about, and again, it's going to be skewed a little bit because you'll have like a -120 to -130 juice on all 3 of these, right? But let's just keep it around. And again, you'll make about 500 or 600 less, but you'll get the gist of it. If you were to lay 1,000 -125, Michigan, Notre Dame, money line parlay, right? So you have your 1,000 plus another. I know it's a little less than 2,000 because of juice, but just follow me. you got 2,000. You take that 2,000, you roll it on the next money line parlay, 1 o'clock, Bengals, Jets, right? So now your 2,000 goes to 4,000. I know it's a little bit less because of the juice, but you get the gist of it. Then you take the whole 4, roll it on 49ers and Lions Monday night. Hey, if it wins, you got 8, but in reality, your 1,000 will turn you into about 6,000, 6,400 is somewhere in there. Turn out to be a great weekend for you. Just a thought there. I think all those teams get across the number. Steelers, Colts, Pittsburgh 8-1 straight up. Its last 9 games playing the Colts rather. Apologies. 6-1 ATS their last 7 games. Now, Pittsburgh a 1.5 point favorite. The line hasn't moved despite 78% of the bets going to the Steelers and 75% of the handle. This line hasn't budged, right? 22% of the tickets on the Colts, 25% of the handle. Your over-under setting at 40. Everybody's pounding the under. 74% of the ticket count on the under, 72% of the handle on the under. Give me the Colts plus 1.5. Say, John, Pittsburgh's 3-0. I know, I'm very aware. I think they're a better team than the Colts. I'm not saying that. But listen, again, it's just a contrarian. If everybody's going one way and it's a large discrepancy, if you had followed it, you would have had the Raiders over the Ravens. You would have had the Patriots over the Bengals. These spreads, and if you look back over the last 3 weeks and you do your work, where there's been the biggest lopside in ticket count and in money, the games where there's been the biggest lopside, the team that hasn't been getting the love has covered this. And this week, the number 1 is Steelers Colts. So I'm going to ride that trend again. Colts plus 1.5. I know it's an ugly dog. Don't turn the game on. Don't watch it. I get it. TJ Watt is a Hall of Famer on the other side. I love him. He's my favorite defensive player in the league. Anthony Richardson, I've had my questions before he was even drafted. I get it. Again, just purely going with the trend, primarily going with everything as how the season has worked out. A home dog, everybody's on the road favorite, and yet the line has been froze with everybody piling on the Steelers, and the line hasn't moved. They're just begging you to take Pittsburgh. I'll take the other way. Colts plus 1.5 is the way we're going to go this week in that game. Another big one, the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Packers are laying 3, 29% of ticket counts to the Packers, but they hold the majority of the handle at 54%. 71% of the ticket count going to the Vikings with 46%. Now, Sam Darnold's going to play your over under 44.5. Everybody is going for the over right now. 67% of the ticket count facing the overway, 74% of the handle on the over, compared to just 33% of the tickets on the under and 26% of the handle on the under. Jordan Love still up in the air. I expect him to play. If Jordan Love plays, I think your solid play here is the Packers minus 140, minus 145 on the money line. I don't think the Vikings go to 4-0 in Green Bay if Love plays. Now, if Malik the Freak plays, I do not like him matched up against Brian Flores. I would stay completely away from the game and just see how it plays out. But I can't take – I mean, Malik the Freak has played over his head. Matt LaFleur, who I think is either – these two coaches, LaFleur and O'Connell, either one of these guys has got to be the front runner for Coach of the Year. I mean, they just got to be, right? What they did has just been absolutely phenomenal. LaFleur 19-11 against the spread within the division as the Packers head coach. That includes 10-5 ATS at home. Now, look, LaFleur 6-4 ATS against the Vikings, been a little different there. Again, Brian Flores, I think Jordan Love will be able to work around that. But if it's Malik the Freak against Brian Flores, I want no parts of it. I will pass on that one. Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going to be visiting the Houston Texans. Jaguars are just, I mean, they're just a mess, man. I think they are broken in a whole lot of ways. Trevor Lawrence is just not, he's not the same guy that I saw at Clemson. He's not the same guy in the playoff run. I'm not sure what's going on there. I do agree with a lot of mainstream media. If they go to 0-4, Peterson's probably going to be your first coach can this year. Now, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, he's made 20 starts in the NFL. He's 3-8 ATS as a favorite. He hasn't did well as a favorite, obviously. That's not the role that he's most comfortable in. But the biggest one here, Texans 10-2 straight up the last 12 versus the Jags. Right now, Houston laying 6.5. They're getting 64% of the ticket count, but only 29% of the handle, as to where the Jags, 36% of the ticket count, 71% of the handle. You're over under 45.5. I think Jacksonville plus the 7 is the lean here. Again, desperate team. Texans haven't looked good, not just because they got stomped at Minnesota, but even that Bears game. I mean, we know the Bears aren't any good. That was a close one. We know the Colts aren't any good. The Texans really had to struggle in that one. I think 7 is too much. There's still some 7s out there, 6.5 at DraftKings, 6.5 FanDuel, but there are some 7s out there. If you can get a 7, or you can even find a 7.5, I think Jags are the way to go. I think even Jags in a teaser. Again, when you have low ticket count, but they're getting the handle, that's a pretty good indication. 9 times out of 10, that's the side that the sharps are on. That's also the side the book is on. So Jacksonville would be my lean here. Not going to be a play for me or our team, but that would definitely be the lean going into this week. Washington Redskins at the Arizona Cardinals. The over 8 of the last 10 games for Arizona at home has gone over. Now this line's setting at 3.5. It's kind of bounced around a little bit. Started earlier 6.5 on the look ahead. It's came down. 48% of tickets on the Cardinals, 52% of the Commanders, but 71% of the handle on the Cardinals compared to 29% for the Redskins. You're over under setting at 50. Everybody's on the over here. 58% of the ticket count to the over, but 80% of the handle. No real play here. I will say I think the Cardinals win the game. I'm not sure I want to lay 3.5. If I could catch a 3, I would take the Cardinals. I know everybody's really high on Washington, but I like Kyler Murray. Listen, if you want to be real, the Redskins defense still wasn't fixed last week. I mean, the Bengals really shot themselves in the foot. As great as the Redskins offense looked, the defense, I still got huge questions about. And I got huge questions about where the offense can hold up throughout the year. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a phenomenal coordinator. I think he's going to end up being one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. I'm not big on him being a head coach, but I do think as an offensive mind, he's right up there with the McVays and the Shanahans and the O'Connells. So I like his spot there. I just wish he had a better head coach around him. But listen, I do think the over is the play here, even though that's the side everybody's going to. But I would shy away a little bit there just because of where the line's at, 3.5. Patriots, Niners laying 10.5. They're still banged up, a bunch of injuries. The handle 50-50 split on this. Ticket count 50-50 split. I'm not interested in laying 10.5. But like I said earlier, San Francisco, I'm all about them getting the win. New England is 4-1 ATS their last 5 games on the road, but San Francisco has been lights out at home, 16-3 straight up their last 19 at home. That's why I love them in the money line parlay with the Jets, or put them in a money line parlay with the Lions. I love the Lions Monday night minus the 3. That's one of my favorite plays of the week. Browns, Raiders laying 1.5. All I'm going to say is these 2 teams suck so bad, there's no way I want to talk about it. I don't know how you could bet either side of this game, Gardner Minshew or Deshaun Watson. I don't know how you could walk to the window and feel good about that situation regardless. I just don't know how you could feel good about it, right? So I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to lead anybody astray, because I don't want somebody to say, if I'm going to lose, I want to lose with a game that I like. Not a game that just, again, don't be an action junkie. You don't have to bet every game on the board. And you leave that alone. Chiefs at Chargers. Herbert seems to be playing, hence the reason that's dropped from 8.5 to 7. I did see a 7.5 pop up. ticket count and money split about 50-50. You're over under 40. I grabbed the Chargers here when it was at 8. I didn't get to catch the 8.5, but I do think if you can catch a 7.5, Chargers are definitely the play here. That's way too many points. Chiefs have not been that impressive. I know they're 3-0. They're 5-0 straight up their last 5 against the Chargers. But the Chargers have hit the under 4 of their last 5 at home. When I tick down to my notes on this game, and there will be more, again, breaktheboardsports.com. You can look up all those. Everything on our YouTube stays up. But listen, the home divisional underdogs in the first 4 weeks of this season, 59% ATS, right? So, again, that's a good reason why I love the Chargers there. Now, look, in his career, Mahomes 8-2 straight up against the Chargers, but 4-5-1 ATS. And that was against like the 12-year-old coach the Chargers had. Now they got a real coach in Harbaugh. Herbert, 5-1 straight up Mahomes against Herbert, but he's 2-4 against the spread. But listen, I really think here we know the recipe. We know what's going to happen. The Chargers are going to keep the ball on the ground. Harbaugh is going to stay behind that big offensive line. Chiefs defense hasn't looked as good as I thought it would. You know, they bottled up Lamar a little bit, and I know Atlanta didn't score a whole lot of points, but here's the other thing, guys, and I think all of y'all agree with me. We don't really know who is and who isn't good right now. Like, it's a little bit all over the place, just the way teams have performed the first, 3 weeks of the season. I think when you get a home team catching over 7, I don't care who it is, especially a division matchup, especially Harbaugh. Now, look, do I think the Chargers are going to win? I'm not going to go say that, but I don't see the Chiefs blowing anybody out. Listen, I think the Chargers are a better team than Atlanta, though they don't have the weapons. I think as a team and their defense and all that stuff, I think they're going to give the Chiefs enough problems. I think they're going to hang around. Chargers plus 7.5. Here's the play. I got 8. If somehow you can get an 8, that'd be great, but I think they're all gone as I'm looking here. Sunday night, Buffalo and the Ravens. Ravens laying 2.5, 65% of the ticket count, 61% of the money on Buffalo. Buffalo been blowing people out. Josh Allen, the lead candidate so far for MVP. Bills, number 1 scoring offense. Ravens, they keep blowing leads, but we're able to hold on. They're against the Bills. There's a couple twos out there. 35% of tickets on the Ravens, 39% of the handle. Your over-under setting at 46.5, and everybody's on the over. 76% of tickets and 87% of the handle compared to just 13% of the handle towards the under. So it's all over all the time here in this Buffalo and Baltimore Ravens game. Just going inside the numbers here. Buffalo 9-1 straight up its last 10, but the Ravens 5-1 at home when playing Buffalo in Baltimore. A couple other stats, you can go to breaktheboardsports.com, but I love the Ravens minus 130 here. Hate to ride the favorites, but again, the dogs have been barking so much. Going to go a little bit contrarian. Even though the Ravens are the favorite, everybody's tending to lean with the Bills. They're the hot team. They're the team that the public likes. Ravens, I think Lamar balls out. Again, the Ravens got off to such a great start against Dallas, and that defense just fumbled. But I don't think there's going to be as many points. I think that Ravens defense will step up a little bit, a lot like we saw. I don't really want to give Dallas's defense a ton of credit, but played better, right? Played better. I think you'll see the Ravens defense play better. And again, if the NFL has taught us anything, they've taught us that, look, this thing can flip back and forth on a dime. So again, I side with the Ravens here. So plays of the week going to give out again. We got that 2-team 6-point teaser, Notre Dame -1 with Alabama plus 8.5. We have the triple unit Michigan Notre Dame money line parlay that we like there. Got Kansas on the money line, UNLV on the money line, and in the NFL, Colts plus 1.5, the money line parlay with Bengals Jets, and then on your screen, triple unit 49ers Lions money line parlay. I also have a lean to the Chargers. Monday night games, we got Titans, Dolphins, Seahawks, Lions. We'll talk about those on Monday's show. Again, go to breaktheboardsports.com, $10.99. You get all the notes, all the games, NFL, college, MLB through the weekend. If we're not up units and up games over 500, then you get the whole entire next month free. You'll also have notes on all the games to help you be a better handicapper. That's the main object of this, is to help you become a better handicapper, not you just follow all the plays we give. So click subscribe. Thanks for all the support. God bless and have a great weekend. Happy handicapping.